So let's talk more about reinforcement. Remember, reinforcement increases the future likelihood of the behavior. The strongest tool for changing behavior is reinforcement. Reinforcement has two qualities. It follows a behavior, and the likelihood of that behavior in the future increases as a result. If both qualities are not present, it is not reinforcement. There are two types of reinforcement, positive and negative. Positive reinforcement. You add something to the environment. Basically, the person gets something, and it increases the future likelihood of the behavior. Negative reinforcement. Something is removed from the environment. Someone versus something they don't like, and this increases their behavior. That is positive and negative reinforcement. And as you can see from this slide, punishment works in much the same way, but it decreases the behavior. So in positive punishment, something is added that decreases. And in negative punishment, something that the person likes probably is taken away, and that decreases their behavior. But for this presentation, let's focus on positive and negative reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is when something is added that increases the behavior, and negative is when something is removed that increases the behavior. So in positive reinforcement, something that is pleasant or that you like or enjoy is added or gained after engaging in a specific behavior. Examples. You go to work and you get a paycheck. You put money in a vending machine and you get a soft drink. Baby cries when you're hungry or when they're hungry and it gets a bottle. You open a cookie jar and eat your favorite cookie. You order food from a waiter. They bring your food. You order your favorite drink at Starbucks. They bring the drink. And so forth and so forth. Negative reinforcement. Something unpleasant or aversive or that you dislike is removed, taken away, stops after engaging in a specific behavior. Example. Alarm clock goes off. You press the off button or the snooze button and the alarm sound stops. Seatbelt signal goes off when you sit in the car. You get your seatbelt on and the signal goes off. When you are outside and it's raining, you pull out your umbrella and rain stops falling on you. When you're driving and you're very low on gas and that little gas thing, the little symbol comes up that says you're low on gas, you stop at a gas station to put gas in and it removes that little symbol from beeping that reminds you that you need gas. Those are all ideas of negative reinforcement. So there's an example of negative reinforcement for the parent. If the baby won't stop crying, okay, the baby is not stopping crying. The crying is uncomfortable, is not preferred by the parent. The parent gives the baby the pacifier, and the baby stops crying. That is negative reinforcement for the parent. Why? Because giving the pacifier took away the crying. Conversely, it is positive reinforcement for the child, right? For the baby. The baby cried. It was positively reinforced by getting the pacifier. So here's some examples. Alan instructs his daughter, Susie, to clean her room and gives her $1. After she is done cleaning, as a result, Susie cleans her room more often. What was the behavior? Cleaning her room. What followed the behavior? The money. Did the behavior increase? Yes. So is this reinforcement?
You really expect them to pay? No, Mr. Powers.
Yes.
I expect them to die.
You can just ignore that. It's a little slide thing that they did in this presentation. But that's okay. The point is that follow the behavior. Yes. The dollar was given after she cleaned her room. Did the behavior increase? Yes. Therefore, it is positive reinforcement. When Johnny's mom puts a plate of vegetables for Johnny to eat, he would cry, scream, and push the plate away and says, "I don't want to eat." The mom takes the plate away, and as a result, every time Johnny sees vegetables, Mom takes the plate away. As a result, every time he sees vegetables, he screams, cries, and refuses to eat. So we're going to look at Johnny's behavior here. What was the behavior? Crying, screaming, pushing the plate away. What followed the behavior? Mom takes the plate away. Did the behavior increase? Yes, because now every time he sees vegetables, he does that. Is this reinforcement? Well, let's see. It came after the behavior. Okay, Mom putting the plate away, taking the plate away came after the behavior of crying and screaming, and it is increasing. So yes, it is reinforcement, and it is negative reinforcement, right? He's not gaining anything, but the thing he doesn't like is being taken away. Example 3. When Mrs. Jones was waiting to pay at the cash register after grocery shopping, her daughter Annie saw a candy bar she wanted and asked Mom to buy it for her. When Mom refused to buy the candy bar, Annie threw a tantrum by crying and screaming and throwing herself on the ground. Mom gave in and bought the candy bar. Now as a result, Annie cries every time she wants candy at the register. What was the behavior? Crying and throwing herself on the ground. What followed the behavior? Mom bought her the candy bar. Did the behavior increase? It says it did. Every time she sees candy now at the register, she cries and screams. So it did increase. Is this reinforcement? Yes, it is. It is positive reinforcement for Annie, correct? Every time she wants a candy bar, when she sees that candy bar, she cries and screams. That's the behavior. This is followed by her getting the candy bar. Now, if you're following along, it is also negative reinforcement for the mom, correct? Mrs. Jones. It is negative reinforcement because giving the candy bar removes the crying. So in this example, during playtime, John wanted a puzzle that his friend was playing with. When his friend would not give him the puzzle, John bit him. As soon as their teacher saw that, she took John out of the classroom and took him to a quiet room and had a long conversation why biting is not acceptable. John continued to bite and hit kids when they refused to share their toy. So what was the behavior? Biting. What followed the behavior? A quiet room and a conversation with a teacher. Did the behavior increase? Yes. It says he continued to do it. Is this reinforcement?
You really expect them to pay?
Yes.
No, Mr. Powers.
And this is illustrative of the point that even sometimes our best intentions of trying to talk with the child or reason with them, reason with the patient, can be led astray. If the behavior continues to increase, it is being reinforced. Example 5. Mrs. Cooper told her son Tommy to put his toys away. After he complied with her request and put his toys away, she gave him a big hug. In the future, when asked to put his toys away, Tommy doesn't do it. So, what was the behavior? Putting toys away. What followed the behavior? Hugs from his mom. Did the behavior increase? No, it did not. Therefore, it is not reinforcement.
No, Mr. Powers. I expect them to.
And this is illustrated with the point that even something we may think is reinforcing might not be. Reinforcement is only known or only determined by whether it actually increases the future likelihood of the behavior. Example 6. At a daycare center, when the teacher was talking to each other, Jenny would bang her toy, against an object loudly. As a result, the staff would stop talking and tell her to stop banging her toy and threaten to take it away. In the future, Jenny would bang a toy every time the staff engaged with each other. So what was the behavior? Banging the toy. What followed that behavior? Well, adult attention, right? The staff telling her to stop banging it. And was the behavior increasing? Yes. Therefore, it is positive reinforcement.
Do you really expect them to pay? No, Mr. Powers. I expect them to die.
Example 7. When Bobby wants to go outside and play, he will go to the door, kick it, scream, and cry. Mom lets him out to play for 5 minutes. As a result, every time Bobby wants to go outside, he would cry and kick the door. So what was the behavior? Kicking, screaming, and crying. What followed the behavior? Mom letting him go outside. And the behavior was increasing. Therefore, it is reinforcement.
No, Mr. Powers. I expect them to die.
Example 8. During the writing station, a teacher gave Heather a pencil and said, "Write your name." Heather said, "No," and threw the pencil on the floor. The teacher told Heather that wasn't appropriate and told her to go sit in the timeout chair. In the future, when given a pencil and instructed to write, Heather would throw her pencil and refuse to write. So, the behavior was saying no and throwing the pencil. What followed the behavior? Timeout in a chair. Did the behavior increase? Yes, it did. Therefore, it is positive reinforcement. Actually, excuse me. If you said it's negative, you'd be correct. This is not positive reinforcement, it is negative reinforcement. Why? Because it removed her having to write. So good if you caught that. Tried to throw you off there, right? No, it was me. It was an honest mistake. The point, though, is this is negative reinforcement because it removed the writing requirement.
Do you really expect them to pay? No, Mr. Powers. I expect them to die.
This final example, let's look at this. An RBT asked her patient to touch the elephant card. The patient touched the elephant card. The RBT smiled and said, "Amazing." Is this reinforcement? What was the behavior? They picked the correct card. What was the consequence? Smile and the RBT said, "Amazing." Did the behavior increase? And this is where we have to say, no, we don't know. We're not sure. Doesn't say. Not enough information. Therefore, we cannot say it is reinforcement. We are not sure. All we are sure of is that the RBT provided a consequence, which was the smile and say "amazing." These were all examples of reinforcement. On the RBT exam, you will likely have questions that are kind of similar in the sense that they will ask you to identify reinforcers or if reinforcement occurred. Remember, to identify if reinforcement occurred, it has to both come after the behavior, follow the behavior, and increase the future likelihood of the behavior. If either one of those does not occur, it is not reinforcement. APA reinforcement rules. Timing. We should reinforce desired behavior immediately and later as well. Frequency. We should reinforce desired behaviors constantly, or at least give some acknowledgement that a behavior is occurring, such as saying good job or thumbs up. That's still reinforcement. It's social reinforcement. Enthusiastically. We should be genuinely appreciative of the incremental steps. Remember, sometimes these steps, even though they may be small, are really big for that individual. We want to make eye contact. Give undivided attention when you are reinforcing. We want to describe the reinforcer. Use behavior-specific praise. Name the desired behavior and why it is important. Instead of saying good job, you might want to say something like good job clapping your hands. You did awesome listening. Anticipation. Hype up the reinforcers, but don't use the threat. Don't be like, hey, I'm going to take this away if you don't do it. Instead, hey, say something like, hey, this is so fun. Variety. Switch it up. Use different types of reinforcers for the patient.